Hi everyone, dear students and aspirants of your great career. Today I am going to discuss a topic that's quite useful from different perspectives, not only for any competitive exams, rather, it's useful for colleges, universities, political science honors, BA program, and that section is very significant. And I'm going to discuss of Indian government and politics. Under this paper, we have one of the topics of this paper is social movements. Friends and my dear students, therefore, today what we're going to discuss is how best you can utilize this particular topic, this particular video, more than anything else. It's not that it's simply useful for writing in the exams of BA program or Pol Science. It's a combined topic of PSIR, Political Science International Lessons, which is very much connected with each other, and therefore it's useful from here to any extent and to any level. And if this video is properly followed in political science, it's quite scoring, quite useful, and then can turn out to be a very much assistant tool for writing the exams. So let us see before we go into the details about this Indian government and politics of one of the syllabus of the central universities, and those who are not aware about the syllabus, what the syllabus is all about, so that they can have glimpse and then accordingly can work their nature of studies and then apply this in exams point of view. So in the syllabus, let's have quickly chapter number 1, approaches to the study of Indian politics and nature of the state in India, liberal, Marxist and Gandhian. Chapter number 2, Indian Constitution. It talks about basic features, debates on fundamental rights, and directive principles of state policy. Then we have chapter number 3, institutional functioning, Prime Minister, Parliament, and Judiciary. Then we have chapter number 4, power structure in India, caste, class, and patriarchy. Chapter number next is 5, religion and politics. And then under this heading is we have the topics debates, secularism and communism. Then we have parties and party system in India. And then next chapter of this syllabus is strategies of development in India, and that is since independence. Dear students, then we have planned economy and neoliberalism. We all know it's very important topic and always comes in a variety of competitive exams or colleges and universities anywhere. Then finally we have the chapter of this syllabus of Indian government and politics is social movements. And under this heading, we have a number of topics like peasants, environmental, and women's movement. Dear students, I have chosen in this video to talk about with the title social movements. Why? Because this is very important. And then also with the collective team, we have started a series of lectures purely for the benefits of students and aspirants of competitive exams of any sort. So on this episode number 1 of the social movements, we discuss what actually social movements are, what are various components, and what are the interpretations of the social movement as a definition. Dear students, let's have the defining components of social movement. Number one, in a general parlance, social movement refers to a collective shared opinion that happens for a specific cause. Whenever we talk about social movements, we have the perception of collectiveness, collective vision, collective thoughts, and a collective opinion. And that's very, very significant, which has a specific cause. Dear students, then we have the next point of this definition as a component. This is basically an organized and sustained component. Remember, social movement is not in haphazard way. Any movement which happens always happens in the best practically possible vision and mission that can carry on. After all, it is meant for bringing changes in the society and try to add values to the social structure, to the political structure, to the governance, and cross section of the people it influences, having specified and adopted a specific policies. Then we have the next component of the definition. Undoubtedly, the movement can be different in nature and scope, but they have their voices, not a single or scattered, that happens for a common cause. Students, pay attention to this particular word. Common cause is very, very important. Do you get it? Common cause which is available or which affects everybody, every cross section, every component, every segment of the society is being affected by a common cause. What is common cause? What it refers to? Say, for example, poverty. Poverty is not confined to one section, it can affect to anybody. Say, for example, illiteracy. Illiteracy is something that any country wants to do away with. Any country wants to get the entire demography literate. And illiteracy is a kind of curse, and that is a common cause, needs to be eradicated. Therefore, common cause is very, very significant. Got it, dear students? Okay, fine. If that's clear, then we have the next point as a defining component. The presence of social movement happens sometimes all of a sudden, and it may be spontaneous. And of course, they are deliberately called and made to assemble, and sometimes rather are the products of the individual intentions and approaches, and that common cause which can serve the society in a way which the movements lead to serve them, and the way the demography of the society wants to bring changes, and that can be quite helpful for everybody of the society. Therefore, common cause is very, very significant. We got this understanding. Here, whenever we talk about social movement, it never starts all of a sudden the entire movement of the people. It may happen something either which has happened or is likely to happen, or that's happening for long, and that generates anger, anxiety, chaos, and compel the population to do something. And that something should be positive. That could be course correction, that could be positive measures which can correct the mistakes or the policies which are not really addressing the purposes, objectives, causes, and the very veracity of the existence of their livelihoods or society in a state. Students, let's have the next interpretation as a part of component. Social movement is the illustration of the crowd behavior. What happens? Because social movement generally happens to be in a crowded form, in a huge gathering, and then sometimes they might be disciplined, sometimes they might not be disciplined, and then accordingly they are made to act and analyze, and they're made to realize about the cause for which they have assembled there, and they want to achieve the target for which they have been agitating, or they tend to agitate, and then get the objectives what they intend to spearhead before the administration or before the agitating body, from where the crowd wants to get their objectives and purposes for which they are assembling there. Dear students, the next component of the definition of social movement is this can be sometimes impulsive groupings of the people. Let's take one example. Any crowd anywhere or sudden gathering not necessarily will be called a social movement. The latest example we can have, say for example, Kazakhstan. In the early part of this year, what happened? Huge crowds on the streets of Almaty and Astana, one of the largest commercial hubs of Kazakhstan. People started gathering, and it followed and followed, and many other cities followed that assemblies and gatherings against common causes what they were facing. But we may not call these social movements because they followed it, they happened, and all these happenings happened without any specified leader, without any specified objectives, because they were suffering from many common causes. So, and it was happening in their minds, all of a sudden it burst into huge gatherings, and then people started coming outside their houses. Next point in this connection we can have, when the crowd behavior functions into sustained association. Remember students what I say? Sustained association. Sustained means continuous process with a group of people having a solid vision leading to achieving a particular objective, then that results into a social movement. Now tell me, this is one question for all of you. Suppose a sudden accident happened on the road on a busy traffic. Then those passers-by, those commuters who they came across this incident stopped and started gathering on that unfortunate spot. So huge number of people, say for example 200-300 people gathered by seeing that incident. Then the question is, can we call that sudden gathering a social movement? Can we? Of course not. Reason? Because that has not those components which are essential for leading to the formation of a social movement. Therefore, I repeat this sentence. When the crowd behavior functions into a sustained association with a group of people having a solid vision leading to achieving a particular objective, that results into a social movement. So sustained association is a need, group of people is a need, and then solid vision is a must. What it wants to achieve what is the objective, that should be crystal clear. And then all these factors, if happen to be, that might lead to into a social movement. Got the point, dear students? Okay, now having cleared that, we have in social movement some important personalities across the world or in India even. Some of the top personalities when we caught regarding associated with social movements in one or other form, they might be social activists, they might be fighting for certain causes, they might be merely from any background, but they have a common cause to fight against those problems what the society is facing. One of the names we call it Sojourner Truth, and this has a different name also, like Isabella Van Wagner, born in 1797, Ulster County, New York, and that's in US. We all know that. Basically, this name is an American evangelist and reformer who supported women's rights movements. It is said Isabella was the daughter of slaves. The students, by mistake, here S has been left in the second line. Instead of she, it has been written HE. So please read it she. So Isabella was the daughter of slaves and spent her childhood as an abused chattel of several masters. Then we have different name Robert C. Weaver, born on December 29, 1907, Washington D.C., US, and he became famous for the cause of racial related issues. Then we have the next name, next important personalities, that is Daniel Conway, born on 17th March 1932, Stafford County, Virginia. Of course, he was an author, US clergyman, and vigorous abolitionist. He was an author. He later, as I said, he later settled a colony of fugitive slaves at Yellow Springs, Ohio. Then we have another name, Janet Rankin, born June 11, 1880, and that's close to Missoula, Montana, US. Janet Rankin was a strong supporter of feminist cause and a lifetime crusader and pacifist for electoral and social reform. If we talk about these students from Indian perspective, we can name, though we have many renowned women social activists and personalities of India, when we are talking about social movements, in one or other form they have been associated. So one of the top name comes Aruna Roy. Aruna Roy is best remembered for corruption-free society and maintaining governmental transparency. Later, she joined an IS batch 1967, and she was a prominent leader of MKSSR, Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan. Yes, that's a social and grassroots organization for the empowerment of workers and peasants. These students, then we have another name that's very famous, and that's Medha Patkar, a social reformer turned politician and a big name from Maharashtra. We all are aware the famous name, very famous name, Kiran Bedi, IPS from Amritsar, Punjab. She belonged to. She's a social activist and the first IPS officer, women IPS officer, it is said, in the country. Then you have Arundhati Roy, a political activist, an author, and of course, she is best known for the award winning novel The God of Small Things, 1997. She also remained active in environment and human rights related issues. Then we have next name, very famous again, Iram Sharmila, popularly known as the Iron Lady of Manipur from Northeast. Then we have Manasi Pradhan. She was an author and poet who received the Rani Lakshmi Bai Stri Shakti Puraskar in 2013 for her work in fighting for women's rights. She was from Odisha of a poor family. Then we have Pramila Nasaji, an Indian lawyer and a well-known women's rights activist. Then we have Amala Akineni, a former film actress, Bharatiya, Bharatnatyam, animal welfare activist and dancer. The students that we have next name, Lakshmi Agarwal, an Indian campaigner with Stop Acid Attacks and a TV host. She is an acid attack survivor and talks about the rights of acid attacks victims. And then, dear students, we have Shaheen Mistry, the CEO of Teach for India, and she's famous for educational equality. Dear students, it has many other components, and we'll discuss in the next coming video about causes, features of social movements, and therefore you'll get more details how the questions come in the exams, and with this you all get clarity of social movements. Dear students, do share, like and subscribe so that you can get latest notifications about the latest videos. Also, if it's useful for you, do pass on to your friends and relatives so that they also can take benefit out of it. Finally, thank you so much. See you soon.